Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 2, episode 41. I cannot believe we're already at 41 episodes. So I'm excited about this interview tonight. Me and my friend Emily here are doing this to advocate and spread awareness for SMA. So I hope all of you who are watching tonight will hopefully learn a little bit about SMA and definitely spread awareness by sharing this video, and hope you enjoy watching. And I will go ahead and let Emily introduce herself to us. So tell us where you're from and how old you are, Emily.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me, Jana. It's been really nice getting to know you, and I'm looking forward to tonight. Um, I am 48 years old. I live in Austin, Texas. With my 2 dogs and partner of 13 years, Dan.
Wow.
Um, let's see. I am currently working for well, it's a federal project that is funded through the federal government, obviously, Administration for Community Living, and it goes through the University of Montana, and they operate what they call the Independent Living Training and Technical Assistance Center. And so this Training and Technical Assistance Center provides course materials and trainings to staff at centers for independent living around the country. So I help create those training materials with my team. And so I just started that job about a little over 6 months ago. And it's remote through the University of Montana. So I live in Austin, but I work in Montana, which is kind of wild because I never even thought about living near, around, close to Montana. I barely know where Montana is, and I work there, and it's wonderful. It's a great school. So go UM.
Yeah, that's the one good thing I guess COVID did for us, that it gave us so many opportunities to work online and do different jobs
Yeah, yeah.
that we would have never had the opportunity to do.
Right. And I should mention, and when I'm not working full time and doing all that stuff and helping with my dogs and my partner and all that stuff and running around Austin, I also lead an organization called NMD United. It stands for Neuromuscular Disabilities United. So and NMD is a big part of my life. We started the group in, I think, 2013, 2014. We started meeting together as just a group of peers with neuromuscular disabilities. A lot of SMA is mixed into that. And we started meeting together then, and we formed the nonprofit, and we basically provide grants to adults living with neuromuscular disabilities. We do peer support. I've done a million interviews, sort of like what you're doing, but a little less formal in the sense. It's just been, we do like peer groups and just fun activities and and we do everything virtually. And it's been a passion of mine for many years, and I've been volunteering with that. I also am the chairperson of a nonprofit organization called Not Dead Yet, which advocates to stop assisted suicide in assisted suicide legislation within the United States. And obviously we support it. We support stopping that around the world. So I've gotten really involved with them as well over the years. And so I just have a couple of passion projects, but I'm a real believer in peer support and And I'm a real believer in this kind of thing that you're doing, interviewing people, letting people see other people's lives and experiences. So that way they will, they could learn something that they may not have known, or, under see something in someone that they have wanted for themselves and couldn't do, and they may get inspired to do it. So like I think that this kind of thing where we see each other and hear from each other and hear our stories is like really, really important. And so I'm
It
grateful
is.
for this opportunity. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining. I know I was so excited about you because I knew you were involved in a lot of those organizations, and so I was excited. But yeah, like you said, we were talking about this earlier actually, that I'm not sure out there how many people are watching regularly, but one of my hopes for this is that if there's younger kids or even people close to our age who just don't think they have a purpose in life, I hope that they see all the different people I've interviewed and what they do. And even though they may not can have a full-time job, or they have to modify things, they can still do what they love to do and follow their dreams.
Right on.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping that other people with SMA watch this and can see that. So, well, yeah, so go ahead, and now that we've discussed all that, let's talk about SMA a little more. How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed at around 18 months. So I'm kind of on the cusp. I mean, if they used to look at age, and they used to look at all, like they used to kind of really define it by type and this and that. And now
Uh-huh.
they do it by like number of SMN2 copies you have and all that stuff. But I would say that based on that, like I was just starting to get to the point where I should have been walking, and I was not letting go. Like I was kind of holding on to things, but I wasn't letting go. Like when I was walking around as a kid, I was just kind of holding onto the edge of the table, holding onto the edge of the couch. But my mom said I just wouldn't break away, and I started falling all the time. And so she took me to the doctor, and they noticed something was a little off with my feet. They did the muscle biopsy, the whole rigmarole, and diagnosed me with SMA. I believe it's 3, but I think I'm a really low 3, like a high 2, low 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you never walked independently?
No, I used braces. I like braces for a little while. I used a walker. Um,
Uh-huh.
I had a spinal fusion surgery when I was around 10, and that at that age, once that happened, that was really kind of like I remember it was a very significant transition from kind of being more ambulatory to being more in a wheelchair and using a wheelchair. So I started using a manual wheelchair in the house and a scooter. I had a 3-wheeled scooter that my parents called my bike. And
Uh,
I was allowed to take my bike out into the neighborhood and take it to like, the mall and places. But my parents didn't want to get a van. um,
uh-huh.
they hated vans. They did not want a van. So they were willing to just haul me in and out of the car and put me in the scooter. And we did that till I was 18. And then when I was 18, I finally got a power wheelchair, but they still didn't want to get a van,
Okay.
which is wild. So
Yeah.
so we took a U-Haul and loaded the wheelchair into the U-Haul and took it to college, and they dropped me off at college, and
Uh,
I left it there, and then had to use the scooter when I went home. And yes, I know it was a thing. And
that is
so
so
they really, really didn't want to get a van. And like, absolutely, like, I don't know what it was. I don't know why they hated it so much, but they did not want to do it. So whatever, it was fine. So,
fun.
but yeah, I actually grew up in upstate New York. So, and I grew up in a I hate that word, but it's just
Okay,
it's there.
me
So
too. Yeah.
a country town of
Yes.
about 3,000 people. And
Yeah.
I went to a tiny little school in a tiny little town in upstate New York, and I was surrounded by cornfields growing up. And after college, the thought of coming home to that and
Mhm.
living back in that county where there weren't any services really was terrifying. So I decided to pull a city out of a cup. I put a bunch of cities in a cup, and I said, whatever city I pull, I was going to go make a life in. And
Oh,
it was
wow.
my senior year of college, and I pulled Austin. And a week after graduating with my bachelor's in English literature, I moved to Texas, to Austin, without any family or friends, and I began making a life for myself here. So
Wow. So
yeah.
what were your cities you put in the cup? And
Oh,
what they're
I put a lot of cities that were just for random reasons. Like, I really like the band REM, and they're from Athens, Georgia. So I put Athens in the cup, and I put in a song. There was a song I really liked at the time called "Hello Birmingham," and it was by a folk singer, and I liked the name Birmingham, so I thought I'll just put Birmingham, Alabama in the cup, and then I put Pittsburgh in the cup because I had friends that lived in Pittsburgh. I put Toronto in the cup because I loved the city of
well,
Toronto. That would
yes,
have been an interesting one if I would have pulled it.
yeah.
San Francisco, I put in the cup because I had heard it was like really disability friendly.
Mhm.
Seattle was in the cup, I think, because I liked that kind of like grungy music at the time, and that was like popular. And so I don't know. So I just kind of picked random reasons. Memphis. A lot of places now, upon reflection, would not have probably it worked out as well as Austin. And Austin was tough. And but I made it work. And it was a capital city, and it had transportation, and it had a lot of strong infrastructure that had been built up over the years. And so it was actually a pretty good place to land at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it when we came for the SMA conference. That was my first time ever to come to Austin.
it was hot that weekend. It was
Yeah,
very hot. I remember.
yes, it was hot. It was hot. But it was so fun. I mean, of course, all I got to really see was downtown Austin. I didn't really venture out a lot, but I love downtown. I really
Yeah, no, it was great. It's a great
uh-huh.
city. It's really lovely. That weekend was really interesting because about a month before the conference,
Uh-huh.
I had fallen and broke both of my femurs. And
Oh,
so I was like hospitalized for 9 days in May, and then like hobbled my way back to like life. And I remember that at the end of that month, I turned 47, and I went to see Justin Timberlake,
yeah.
which is just like a guilty pleasure. And I went to see Justin Timberlake in concert, and I remember like it was the first time I had left the house, and I it was like I had to drive my chair so slow to get to Justin Timberlake, but I was so proud of myself. I was all drugged up, and I was like, I did it. And then a couple weeks later was the Cure SMA conference, and I had to do the same thing, just like force myself to get out of the house and go, and I did it. So
Yeah.
it was a really good time, but very memorable for that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were there. I was gonna say I thought I remembered meeting you there.
oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's so many people
Oh,
like
there's so
that.
many.
I feel bad when I don't remember people, but I'm
Well,
like,
it's so interesting. I thought, I don't know, because I do NMD United stuff, and I thought I
yeah,
knew everyone with SMA. And then I go to those conferences and I realize I don't know anyone. And then
that
I saw all the people you've interviewed for this project, and most of them I don't even know. I think I knew one person, and I was like, wow. I was like, there's just so many
I
people that
know.
are impacted, and it's such a cool conference to see all
Yeah.
these chairs and all these all your people. It's so wild.
You been to any other ones, or was that your only one?
Yeah, I went to the what was it? Was it the year before, or
Okay.
might have been the year before I went to Disneyland? Was that the Disneyland year, or was the no? It was the year before that, I think.
This past summer was Disneyland.
Right. So it was the
Yeah.
Disneyland before this summer. Like I didn't go this summer. So I went like it was the Disneyland, the Disneyland before Austin, whatever that one.
Austin.
So I
Yeah.
think it was like Disneyland and then it went Disney World and then it went to Austin or something
Austin.
like that.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't been in a little bit, but I had only ever been to those two conferences. Like I had never been to any other Cure SMA conferences. So
Yeah.
for me, it was incredibly eye-opening and
I
exciting.
know it was. It
Yeah,
was. I can't wait to go to another one. I'm
they
hoping
do a good job. They really do. For as large as it is,
yeah,
it's quite an undertaking. Uh,
I know.
quite an undertaking.
Everything was so organized and yeah, they had everything. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. I worked for before working at the job I'm at now, I worked for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation
Oh
as
yeah.
their outreach and education director. And I was responsible for organizing and planning the Reeve Summit, which is an accessible conference, So we have
Uh-huh.
people with disabilities that go to
Uh-huh.
two summits, and it's for like 150 to 250 people-ish. And it's a big, you've got to make sure everybody's got accessible rooms, and you've got to make sure that
Yeah.
like just there's so many factors about accessibility in conferences that no one thinks about unless you're planning these things. And I promise you, after those experiences, like I never want to do that again. It is so hard. It is so hard. And so I give Cure SMA a lot of credit for what
Yeah.
they do, but they also have a lot of funding as well. So they
Yes.
can do
Yeah.
those kinds of things, and they have the pharmaceutical money to do that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you talked a little bit about your family, not wanting a van, but do you have any family members with SMA or no?
I don't. It's kind of it's not presented anywhere. But I haven't done a lot of like deep diving into like the family history and the genealogy
Yeah.
of it. Um, I don't have any siblings. So I don't have siblings. I have a very small family that is slowly kind of getting smaller by the day almost. And so yeah, it's just me. And I'm not gonna have any kids. So I think it all ends with me, I think.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows the way the genes work? You never know. But yeah. So do you have any brothers or sisters?
No, no siblings.
No, you're
No,
not.
nothing.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So, and my parents divorced when I was 18, right as I was about to go to college. My parents
Okay.
divorced, and each of them have new spouses, and their spouses have kids. So I guess I have some stepbrothers and sisters, sort of, but I don't know them very well. They're lovely people, but no, and I really didn't have a lot of close family. So when I moved, like a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, you left, you left your family and you went all the way across the country to Texas." And I was just like, "Yeah, but there was just really nothing that there was really nothing that kept me where I was." So I have a good relationship with both my parents. I keep in touch with them, but they've always been um incredibly wanting to be very independent, and
Yeah.
always like they weren't the kind of parents that were like, you can live with us forever, or you don't have to leave. Like they were like pretty much like, you should leave, like you should go and figure your life out, and we'll come visit. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how it's been. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, well, how was it growing up? I know you said you're the only child, but was it tough growing up with SMA? Like, with school, were all your schools accessible and were all your friends accepting of you with a
um
disability growing up?
um I would say that it's always hard when you grow up in a small town,
Yeah.
because it's just a small town, and you know um but but there are some good things about it too, I guess.
Mhm.
It was fine. My childhood was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't traumatic. I didn't have any like major, like horrible, I had bullies in sixth grade. I remember I was bullied in sixth grade. But not for my chair necessarily. It was more just because it was just because of kid stuff.
Yeah.
I remember like in high school, I was kind of an outcast, not an outcast, but I just wasn't like, I just kind of like, I don't know, I participated in some stuff, but I wasn't like, I don't know. There's some kids in school that become like the school mascot.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds kind of, but they're
Yeah.
like the kid within the chair, and so like everybody's like really like fawns over them, or like makes them into something special. It's real inspirational. Everything is inspirational. I thankfully didn't have a lot of that, which I really appreciate.
Mhm.
I had kids that were mean to me. I had hard times, so I didn't grow up in life like without a tougher skin. Like I felt like I was able to take some really hard criticism, and hard, and like I had I remember one of my best friends growing up, when we were in high school. She was going to parties all the time that weren't accessible to me. Like they were out in the middle of like a cornfield. Like all the kids would get together and they would drink in a cornfield,
Yeah.
and have sex and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then if the cops came, they would all run as fast as possible to get away.
Oh gosh.
So they didn't want to bring me to the cornfield. Because I would have screwed it all up. So I had a friend who would go to the cornfield every week and have fun and do stuff. And I was kind of sad that she wasn't hanging out with me anymore. And I remember we were talking, and I have this very specific. She said to me, "I just don't want to be in a wheelchair anymore."
Oh my gosh.
And I remember hearing that, and it hit hard. I mean, it hit like it
Yeah.
hurts to think about. But at the same time, I think that helped. I think it shaped me. I think it helped
Mhm.
me like see, like my life was very different, and like how it wasn't exactly teenage life, and like
Yeah.
typical experiences like that weren't going to be accessible to me. But they also, it also made me different. Like I wrote stories, and I used my imagination, and I found people with disabilities, like my best friend with SMA, who lives like 45 minutes away, and I spent time with her because she did want to be in a wheelchair. She had no choice. So like I did things that I think I wouldn't have done or appreciated if
Yeah.
I wouldn't have
Yeah.
had harder times. Yeah.
Well, who's that? Who's your best friend?
Oh, her name is Kareen. You should interview her.
Oh,
She's
awesome.
fabulous.
Okay, well, you have to send me her name because
I
yes,
will. I will. I'm
I would
tagging
love
her.
to interview
Tell
her.
her yeah, tell her I
Yeah.
recommended her. She'll
Oh,
be thrilled.
yeah. That's how I've been getting a lot of connections. I'll be like, oh, well, who do you talk to the most with SMA or, whatever. So that's awesome. Well, yeah, I guess that does make us learn when, when people are mean, you find the good out of it, like you said. And yeah, but that's terrible that she said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I get it. I totally get it. I
yeah,
totally get it. I
yeah,
don't think it was wrong, but it was like, I think it's what it, I mean, it wasn't wrong. I don't know how to explain it. It was the truth. And
yeah,
I feel like so many times with people with SMA, people will like they won't say the truth. And I think that it's really like, even though it's going to hurt and it's going to be like really painful, it's really important to kind of like hear the truth, but then also like know that that's their truth and not necessarily yours. So like
yeah,
whatever, like I don't want to be in a wheelchair anymore was like hard for her to, she said that to me. That was her truth. She didn't obviously, who wants to be in a
yeah,
wheelchair? But like, but for me, like I had to come to terms with, well, guess what? I'm in one and
yeah,
I gotta, like I need to be okay with this. And so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're like me. I'm from a very small town too. And growing up, I was the only person in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
Like, and mostly in the town. Now, once I got into high school, there was another guy who actually got paralyzed and was in a wheelchair, but not till like my junior year, maybe of high school.
Okay.
So, so yeah, I was the same way. I didn't know hardly anybody, and the closest person I knew with SMA lived about an hour away, and she was younger than me. But I was so thankful to at least have her family, because back then we didn't have all the online connections like we do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is definitely but you're in a small town, it's a challenge to
Right. And I think like camp, summer camp and
yes,
going to summer camp for
yeah,
kids with disabilities, not just MDA camp, but I also went to like a city camp for kids with disabilities, which I highly recommend to families to look into that because
yeah,
there are camps like that are for muscular dystrophy, but there are like
yeah,
Easter Seals camps and all kinds of camps out there that
yeah,
service like all kinds of kids with developmental disabilities. And so it was because of camp that I actually met people with NMD.
mm,
I had some friends with Duchenne. I had Kareen who has SMA. I had, there was tons of friends that I met through that window, and it was really great. It was really great. It is I don't know what I would have done because there was, like you said, there's just no way to find anyone that even looks like you or represents your life in any way, shape, or form. So it makes a difference.
yes, for sure. Well, what about, I know you talked a little bit about college, but did you live on campus or in an apartment? And tell us about your degree and everything.
So when I went to college, it was in 1999. It was a college that was sorry, 1995 to 1999. I went to college the school doesn't even exist anymore, but it was called Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania, which has now been changed to Penn West. And at the time, it's on the western side of Pennsylvania. And Edinburgh University it's in a very small town, very similar to this town I grew up in, actually. But this town had the college, and it also had about a very large population of students who were wheelchair users. It was one of the most accessible schools in the United States, and it had 24-hour a day, 7-day a week care in the dorms. So as long as you lived in the dorm, you could go to a room and there would be like a staff of 4 or 5 personal care attendants, and you could go into that room and be like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom, and someone would go into the bathroom and help you. Or if you needed your laundry done or if you needed anything, they would come. And if you went into the cafeteria, they had people there that would help you get your food and feed you if you needed to be fed. And they had transportation on campus. It was like a utopia. It was like a magic land, and vocational rehabilitation paid for it. So I went there for 4 years, and my dad forced me to. I didn't want to go initially. So I was like, I don't want to be around all these people in wheelchairs, and it's weird, and like that's weird, and like I was all, and my dad was like, you really should go to this, and you need to go, and after you're done, you can decide what you want to do, and I'll support it. He's like, but you need to go to this college. So I went, and I majored in English, which again, not a real money maker. I I started
Yeah.
taking Social Security when I went in, and I just kind of used my Social Security for my spending money, and I lived on campus, and it was a good 4 years. Like I
Yeah.
literally forgot I had SMA. I never thought about it because all of a sudden every barrier in my life was completely removed. So it
Wow.
was really it was an exceptional experience. So
Yeah.
and then of course they've torn down that program. It no longer exists. It ceased about, I think, about 5 years ago. They finally shut it down. They wanted to shut it down forever, because it was costing the school too much money. And I think anyway, it was just they had lost they had never really saw what they had, I don't think. And I don't think they celebrated what they had. And I think it really, in the end, kind of that it caused it all to shut down. So it was very sad.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is sad.
yeah.
There's another girl I interviewed. I'll have to send you her interview. But she went to college like that. Like she had a dorm like that with personal care attendants. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm from Louisiana.
I
What's
know.
we had nothing like that.
I
Nothing.
know. I know.
I mean, I went and looked at the dorms, and this was back in 2002 when I went. And even the dorms, I mean, yeah, the bathrooms were so-called accessible, but like there was no place in the bathroom for me to even lay down to change.
Right.
So I was like, what am I supposed to do? Just go down the hall, like with no clothes on to my door and to my room
Yeah.
from the shower. And so probably that's when my parents were like, no, we're just gonna get you an apartment and you can live
Okay.
it wasn't far from campus, but still, and I had to have 24-hour caregivers. And as you probably know, that's a full-time job in itself. Trying to
Yeah, no, it is. It's way harder
yeah,
to do what you did, and to do. My best friend Kareen, she stayed local. She stayed close to home, and she went to school she lived on campus, but she lived close to her family in case something went wrong with her care. But she had to start working with agencies and attendant care that came in from, the community or whatever. And she really, really um she struggled, and it was really hard for her, but at the same time, like, in a way that like shaped her, like I said, these struggles that we go through, it's like some of these are
yeah,
really important struggles to have. And so I just put off my struggles, because in 4 years, when I moved to Austin a week after college and I came here to Texas, it was a very rude awakening, because
yeah,
it was not 24 hours, 7 days a week care in the dorms. Like, it was tough. And so, but I had a vision for my life that I don't think I would have had if I didn't go to Edinburgh, because Edinburgh taught me, like,
mhm,
they taught me how to train to attendants, because I had to work with all of these the staff of attendants that would come in, and all the work study students. So I had like 30 caregivers a year probably that I had to work and train. And so I was constantly like building those skills and relationship skills, and like, and kind of and also just seeing what the world could be like if these barriers didn't exist. And so when I went into Texas, I was like, well, why can't I have this? Like, why can't I have this life? Like, if I had this life, I would have I wouldn't be as much of a drain on society because I would be able to work and I'd be able to go to, do all the things I want to do. So it was funny. I was very adamant that I wasn't going to put myself in a position where I was going to have to move home. And so I did everything in my power to make sure that I would never have to put myself back in a position where I had to go home to my family.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it on my own without anyone. So
Well, that's great that you were able to do that. Well, you talked about your jobs a little bit earlier. So do you work full time or part time or
yeah,
what?
I do. I work full time, um,
Uh-huh.
and I work remotely. Before this job, I did the director of education and outreach and education with the Reeve Foundation. And then before that, I worked for 9 years at a community college in Austin, and I worked in the Office for Students with Disabilities. So
Oh,
I counseled students all day on how to get accommodations in school and how to navigate college and plan their lives and stuff like that. So I did a lot of like college advising for students with disabilities of all types of disability. And then before that, I worked as a project director for a state independent living council, which I don't know if you know of them, but every state has an independent living council. And so I did some project work with them, like wrote grants and helped with projects and conferences for people with disabilities. And then before that, I worked at an independent living center, which is many cities and counties have independent living centers, which help people with disabilities figure out how to live independently. And then before that, I taught for 7 years. I taught high school English for 7 years. So
oh, wow, high school.
yeah,
Oh, wow, you're braver than me. I only do the kids.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the babies, not the older kids.
Yeah, the older kids are tough, and
Yeah,
I was in a Texas teaching in a different culture, different world, basically,
yeah,
and trying to figure out my life as well. And I don't know, those
yeah.
years were, I mean, they were hard years, but they were good. It was good. It was just teaching I think I've always wanted to be more behind the scenes, and I find that I like I like education. I just think I like education that's more like non-traditional or like
Mhm.
outside of the box kind of stuff. Like, so right now I'm designing educational materials and I like it. It's quiet work, it's easy, it's not like super stressful. Um, and it's not like teaching. Teaching was like really hard on my body and it was really hard on my bladder. It was really hard, just really hard. I give my hats go off to any teacher, let alone a teacher with a neuromuscular disability who has to like deal with all the teacher stuff and SMA or
Yeah,
neuromuscular stuff. And so like yeah, it's definitely it's it's a nicer this type of job, the one I'm in right now, I think is really perfect for being 48 years old. It's
mhm.
just a really good, it's not gonna kill me like
Yeah,
teaching. Almost.
yeah, yeah. I was still thinking about that today. I'm younger than you. I'm only 42, but I tutor kids now after school. Got my own like tutoring business, and I also tutor through a company online. And so I'm like, I don't know if I can be in the classroom all day. So it was
Yeah.
hard enough when I was in my 20s. I can't imagine our life in our 40s. And I'm like, how did I do that?
Yeah, I can't even put it
Oh,
together in my
yeah,
head. Yeah.
I lived an hour away from my school, so I had to commute
Wow.
2 hours plus teach all day,
That's
and then
crazy.
do duty or whatever. Yeah, it was a lot,
How
but
how long did you teach? How long did you
uh,
teach?
I only taught 1 year, 1 full year, after college, and then I was struggling that I lived in Baton Rouge, but I was teaching in a small town outside of Baton Rouge. And I was struggling to find caregivers to go with me to school because I would have to leave my house at like 6:30 in the morning. And
Wow.
I would not get home depending on traffic and depending if I had meetings at school or duty or whatever. Sometimes I wouldn't get home till 5:30 in the evening.
Wow.
But to find someone that would work that longest shift, because they had to drive
Like,
me back and forth, it was really hard.
it sounds
So
impossible. I can't believe you did it for a year.
yeah,
It's really hard. I don't know how I would do that. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
student, she was actually a student at an education major, and she came with me like 3 days a week. Then my mom ended up practically moving there and helping me go the other 2 days a week. And then
That's amazing.
at the end of the year, I decided to come back home, and I was like, maybe I can find, a job closer to home. But I was at a private school, and at the time, we did not have private schools here. And so I just decided to start tutoring, and I actually love it because I'm still getting to do what I love, and I'm
Right.
getting to help kids and, do all of that. But it's just
Well, that's
on a
cool.
basis. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I moved to Austin, I didn't want to be a teacher. I really never wanted to be a teacher. I don't know
So,
why. I was just, I didn't know what else to do with an English degree. So anyway, but I did want to, I wanted to get to know my community. I really believe community and peer support, but community also is really important in all of this, and managing your life with a disability, because if you're not involved in your community, you don't meet care providers, you really, I mean, that it's such a key part to your survival, is to like have neighbors and understand like who your neighbors are. And so
yes.
anyway, especially when you have family, or friends. And so when I first moved here, I didn't really have like, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I decided to join the AmeriCorps, which
Uh-huh.
is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the AmeriCorps, but it's kind of like the Peace Corps, but it's in America, and they place you in communities where there's need. And so because I was in low income housing when I moved to Austin, I was in a low income area. And so there was need there. And so I joined AmeriCorps for 2 years, and they put me in the schools in the neighborhood to do tutoring, to work with kids, to do social work kind of stuff, like paraprofessional social work stuff. So I worked for an organization called Communities in Schools. And so they helped kids that were kind of struggling in school for whatever reason, and we would like work with them and on social skills and academic skills, whatever we needed. And so I did that for 2 years, and went back and forth between a high school and elementary school for my time, and then I also volunteered at the library and tutored. And then I did a lot of volunteer work. I like worked for the runaway hotline. I did everything I can to get in, like kind of figure out my community and my world, because like back in New York where I grew up and where I went to college before that, like we really didn't have Spanish speaking people, individuals. Like ESL wasn't a thing. So it was like a whole different world, like Spanish speaking, new cultures, new religions, new everything. And so after that experience in the AmeriCorps, I went back to school to get my teaching certification at the University of Texas. And while I was at school getting that, I got a job student teaching at the school in my neighborhood, so I could wheel to work, which is so funny compared to you, because so my first many years in teaching was literally just wheeling down the street to my job and wheeling home
Yeah.
at the end of the day, which made a huge difference.
Yes.
So that like that was really important. And then I eventually bought a house and I got a modified van and I drove to work every day, but it was still only like a 15-20 minute drive.
Mhm.
So like it was, it wasn't painful like what you went through. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. And then going to UT was interesting because it was a big university compared to the university I went to for my 4 year experience. And that school was a lot, they didn't have all the things that Edinburgh had as far as access and help. But I had to like force, I went to the health center, for instance, and I like demanded to meet with the head of the health center. And I wasn't like a jerk.
Yeah.
It was just like,
Yeah.
I met with the health center person and I said, I need to use the bathroom once a day while I'm on campus. Is there someone here at the health center that can help me go if I
Yeah.
come here? And so every Tuesday and Thursday or whatever, they would let me come into the health center and go into a room, and they
I,
had one of their nurses on staff help me use the bathroom so I could go to class and I didn't have to go all the way home.
that's awesome.
So I like tried to get creative, like, and
Yeah.
it worked because, like I said, I just had the expectation. I was like, wait, I'm going to college. My other college, like, I could go to the bathroom. Why
Yeah.
can't I go to the bathroom at this college? And so, like, yeah. So those kinds of experiences, I think, really helped me, especially when I advised students with disabilities at the community college later on, because a lot of them were commuting back and forth to school and had questions like, how am I going to go to the bathroom? How am I going to do this? And I'd be like, well, here's what you could do, and
Yeah.
think outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea. Well, you mentioned earlier that you have a partner. So tell us about him and tell us about how you met.
We met through friends. My college roommate, my one of my college roommates from Edinburgh,
Uh-huh.
who wasn't in a chair, met my partner years ago, and he moved to Austin, and she was in Austin because she moved to Austin, and so we all just kind of became friends, and I was friends with him for a few years. He moved in as a roommate
Mhm.
just to help pay rent. Well, help me pay my mortgage in my house because I had a 3 bedroom house and I was a teacher and I made no money. So he moved in as a roommate and lived in one of my spare rooms. And
Uh-huh.
we were just friends for years. And then it was almost like I don't know, just we spent so much time together and he's a very he's a very, very good man. And he's a good person and he's very quiet and he's not like a he's kind of just a quiet guy who just kind of does his thing, and he probably wouldn't have thought to settle down with anyone, but we just kind of found each other and fell in love, and it happened kind of very organically and without a lot of drama. We're a very low drama couple, so
That's good.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely the best kind to have.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
very, very, very lucky. He's super cool. He's super
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, that's a neat story. Well, so you don't have any kids or anything going
Mhm. No, I never wanted them. Honestly, like I said,
on.
I taught high school, which I was better than the little ones because I'm just not a kids person.
Yeah.
As much I wish I were, but like maybe it's because I didn't have siblings or cousins
Yeah.
or
Probably
anything. I
so.
don't really know, but it's nothing clicks. It just doesn't work. That like I don't know. I just don't have that maternal
Yeah.
instinct.
Yeah.
But and he's not like that either. So like we're both very similar in that regard. We both have very similar philosophies on like, and we also, I think if we did have kids, we would raise them very, like, I would be much stricter and I would be kind of, I'd be like, I don't know, I don't think I'd be the greatest parent. I'd be probably pretty mean. So
yeah,
he's much more like, like our Halloween, Halloween's coming up. And
mm,
when we do Halloween, like first of all, I like want to shut the door and not even do Halloween.
yeah.
He loves Halloween. So and so, but when the kids come, he like gets a big bucket of candy and he just says, take all you want. Like he
Uh,
opens the door and he just says, take as much as you want. And I'm just like, no, like the kids are gonna get cavities. Like this is absolutely ridiculous. They need to say please and thank you. Like this
yeah,
is like they're being rude. They can't just grab candy and run off. And he thinks it's the greatest.
yeah.
So I imagine that's what our parenting philosophy would have been. It would have been,
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
yeah, yeah.
Well, what all medical equipment do you have to use every day?
Oh, well, I have a ceiling lift with a body support frame. So it kind of scoops me up. I don't know if you've ever seen a sure hands
Oh yeah,
body support lift, but
yeah,
it's not like a typical sling. And it just kind of scoops me up and like lifts me up into the air and drops me on things. Like it kind of reminds me a little bit of like those video games with like the claw, like like that. But no, it kind of just picks me up, scoops me up, and then drops me into places. I love this lift. It changed my life, and the only reason I got it because I would not have thought that I would have survived on that thing if I didn't see a woman with SMA in the brochure and I saw her and she had a similar body to mine and I was like, oh wow, she can do it. I think I can. And
yeah,
so I got that lift. So I use that. So I call that lift J low because it's shaped like a J and it drops low. So I am J low, and then I have my modified van, which I'm not really driving anymore because I've lost some strength. So I've been having people drive me places with it. And my power wheelchair, obviously. I have a bed with that just a regular old like adjustable bed. I didn't get a hospital bed. I just got an adjustable bed. It does the same thing, just
yeah,
looks better. So I have a twin size adjustable bed that's next to another twin bed. Like we push our bed together, so it turns into a king, and it's just a split king essentially. With my side is adjustable and his side isn't. Um, and I'm trying to think. I have my other technology, I guess. I don't know. You could call it medical, but it's I have a catheter, a suprapubic catheter that I use. So I don't have to have somebody put me on the toilet all the time to go pee anymore, which has made a like oodles of difference in my life. So
really. Well, tell me about this. I'm dying to hear because I interviewed a girl who recently just had one. I interviewed her before she had it.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, how long have you had it?
I've had it since 2016, so almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Got any trouble at all, like infection or
It isn't for everybody. It isn't perfect, but it's perfect for me. I have a great doctor. I found this really great urologist. I interviewed a couple of different urologists, and I wanted to know specifically if they had any experience working with neuromuscular disabilities
yeah,
or quadriplegia, like anything where there was somebody that did chose it for elective reasons and I wanted to see what if they had any experience with that. So I found a doctor, and it was a woman with SMA had referred him to me. And so and I found him and interviewed him. He was great. I liked his philosophy. I just liked his outlook. He was like, yeah, you should be able to have a beer. You should be able to have a glass of wine. You should be able to go through your day and not have to run home every time you have to go to the bathroom. And I was like,
Yeah,
and so when I had that, and I liked how he, like, every doctor's different, and it really it's so important to get a good urologist on the same page as you.
yeah,
And if you don't find a urologist on the same page as you, don't settle because it's not going to work out. Um,
yeah,
so his whole approach to it is very proactive, and also at the same time, like, for instance, he said, you're gonna have an infection, like you're always gonna have a level of infection in your body. And he said, but you basically it colonizes. It's like this bacteria that just kind of hangs out, and it just kind of hangs out in your body. And it's like, yes, I'm an infection, but I'm not like, it's not like a killer infection.
yeah,
And so he said, like, if I ever get a fever, that I need to get that addressed immediately. So as long as I don't have a fever, then I just kind of deal with it. And that kind of helped me, because when you first get the surgery and you get the procedure done, um, you're very, it's a whole new world, and you're constantly worried you're falling apart and everything's not working right, and oh my God, but your body's just adjusting. And so once I adjusted to it, I haven't really had very many problems. Now, I'm not, like, it's not perfect. I've had some infections that have led me to be, I've been hospitalized a couple of times with UTI type kidney stone things. But at the same time, I also haven't had as many respiratory issues because I've been able to drink and have more fluids. And so, and like, I also have had, uh, I've been able to utilize my attendant care hours differently, because I don't have to have bathroom breaks as frequently, because I just empty the bag I pee into all day, as I need to. But I don't need to go through all this stuff. And so I can go on road trips. I can do all these things I want to do. So sometimes the downside is that you have to deal with some crap on that side of things. But
yeah,
it was worth it. It was a real easy trade-off for me. So
yeah. Well, I'm so happy that's working for you. I mean, I know that with SMA, we learn how to just hold it because we have to. We don't have another choice sometimes.
mhm.
That everybody's like, you must have a huge bladder. I'm like, no, I think you've just trained my body.
Yeah, dehydration.
Yeah, and to hold it and
Mhm.
yeah, well, that's awesome for you. Well, that's
Yeah,
good to hear.
I've spoken to at QSMA conferences about it a couple of times. So actually, I did a couple, three summits of strength, and like maybe that's three, 4 summits of strength in a couple of conferences. They asked me to speak on it. I love to talk about it. I set up kind of a mentorship program. So I started mentoring people that wanted to get the surgery. Um, I've been doing this for 10 years, I guess. And
Yeah,
so I had a mentor, like someone with SMA, who was willing to answer all of my crazy questions. And so after that, she said, I said, what can I do to thank you or pay you back? And she was like, don't worry about that, just help someone else. And so I've helped probably, I don't know, 30 people. And whenever I help someone, I always say, like, when they say, what can I do to thank you, I'm always like, help someone else. And
yeah,
so I've set up this kind of like informal mentoring program. So now when people want to know how to deal with it or how to go through it, I usually ask them some questions, find out, what they're like, what kind of life they live, and then I try to match them with
yeah.
one of my mentees that knows, like how to talk about it. So
Well, that is awesome to know.
yeah.
Well, I'm so glad
Oh,
it worked for you.
I'm gonna
Well,
slowly back up and shut the door really quick because it's getting loud. Hold on.
it's okay. I didn't hear it, but
Oh, good. I'm glad you're sound.
Yeah,
Your
I mean,
sound, I'm glad your background sound is good.
yeah, I don't hear it too much. Well, what about caregivers? Do you have any or
Oh
no?
yeah, I have a team, a good team. I have I've been here since 1999. So for 26 years I've had to figure it out. So I have one caregiver that's been with me since the year 2000. So essentially she's like one of my best friends, like a sister to me.
Yeah,
She's some of the people that so she's introduced me to some people that are her friends of hers from her community. So I have caregivers that I've met through her, and then I just through my like when I worked at the community college. Working at a college was great because I met a lot of people that, you know,
yeah,
students that were looking for work and things like that. And you're
yeah,
not supposed to like technically work with students because that's kind of inappropriate, but they're college students, so it's okay. So
yeah.
I imagine. And so a lot of I was inter so I had a college student that helps me, and then she introduced me to some of her friends.
Mhm.
Um, I had a caregiver that I met on care. No, it was not care.com. I never used care.com, but I've used Nextdoor, like that neighborhood community. And I advertised for someone. I met someone through that, and she and I got along great. And she travels with me when I travel. She lives in Portland now. She moved away, but we still see each other, and she travels with me. And
Ah,
she introduced me to a lot of her friends. So I have a pretty good staff. I have about 5 to 6 people that work with me on a regular basis. Like, you know, I have different people do my I have a morning shifts, afternoon shifts, and evening shifts. And so now I'm working for home, so I have an afternoon shift pretty embedded in my life, and
mhm.
so yeah,
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, when you find that good team, you gotta hold on to them.
yeah, I try, but you know how life goes. People move and they do the things,
Yeah,
but that's why it's just really important not to let your networking skills drop because it's really you need to meet people all the time. You gotta find people.
yes, I know, I know. Yeah, you constantly have to meet people and have connections for sure.
For sure, for sure.
People, so
And honestly, I'm a big proponent of directing your own care and not going through an agency model. So like some states will force you to do an agency model, but or some counties will, where they, you know, because it's so hard to find people and recruit. But
yeah,
if you can manage, if you can find your own people and recruit and manage and take care of that, it's way worth it. It's way
yeah,
worth it.
yeah, that's what I do, too, because yeah, the agency just they were real pushy and like always wanting to do meetings and trainings and I'm like, I don't need all that. Like they were making some of my workers do all this training that did not even pertain to me,
Yeah,
And so I was like, they don't have to do that. Why? And so when I found out about self-direction, I switched and I'm glad that I did
yeah.
do that for sure. Well, are you on any kind of treatment for SMA?
Um, I am in the process of potentially, hopefully, going back to Evrysdi. I was on Evrysdi for about 2 years, and I went off of it because it was bothering my stomach. I was having all these digestive issues, and I didn't know if it was the Evrysdi that was doing it. Um, so it was really hard to tell because there was just so many other things going on in my life. It was hard to know. So I decided to do like a hard reset, and I just went off of like all the things, and I just said like I'm gonna like start over essentially. And it took about a year and a half for my stomach to get back to its
Oh,
usual self.
uh-huh.
And it finally has, but my strength has taken a nosedive. So I've decided to try the pill. And maybe it'll be a better experience. I don't, like I said, I don't really know what was causing the digestive issues, if it was Evrysdi or not. I suspected it could have been, but although there's not a lot of evidence that's pointing to that, but
Yeah.
from like as far as like the research and stuff, like there's not, I don't know. So I am gonna try it again. I'm gonna give it a shot and see how it goes. And at the same time, I'm gonna be looking at my stomach and being very, if the minute it starts acting funny, I'm probably gonna bail if I have
Yeah.
to. But I hope I don't have to. So
Yeah. But how long have you been back on the rest day?
I haven't started it yet. I'm in the process. I just did my start form again,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're going through my insurance right now and like dealing with the
Yeah.
insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I don't know. I hope it'll work out and I'll get it again. I Not much has changed in my life since I went off of it a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
hoping I'll just get back. I'll just get on it again. But
Yeah. Well, I hope it does better. Thankfully, whenever I was on it, I didn't have any of the stomach issues, but I did hear other people say they did. And I read an article one time, I think they said they thought it was something with the sweetener
yeah,
or something.
hard for me to believe. I mean, honestly, although I hate artificial sweeteners, so but I don't know. Like I don't know. I just like I just want to, I don't know. I hope it's not that. It also is it's a little freaky, especially now
Yeah.
that it's in a pill form, because it's just the thought of a tiny little pill like correcting all
Right.
of this nonsense. Like it's really powerful and it's kind of terrifying in a way. So but I'm hoping that it's a good thing and I feel better and I maybe
Yeah.
gain a little bit of strength.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of needles and I'm really I don't like to over medicalize myself. I mean, I have a catheter, which some would say that's very medical, but
Yeah.
I don't really want to make it a habit to go to the I just didn't want to go in for injections. I did not want to
Yeah.
do the injections. So
Yeah.
I never pursued Spinraza, although
Yeah.
I've heard a lot more positives about it than Evrysdi in some respects. But at the same time, I think a lot more people are on Evrysdi versus Spinraza. So
Yeah.
you would have more complaints about
Yeah.
Evrysdi. So
Well,
I
what if you notice that you've got weaker? Is it your arms or what? Yeah, yeah. Me too. I've noticed that too. Yeah,
It's been a really significant drop, like as of late. It didn't like, and usually things happen really slowly, but this one was a heavy hit. It's hit hard. So I don't really know why. So
um,
I've been I'm looking at menopause, like I'm looking at
yeah,
perimenopause. I'm looking at my nutrition. I've also gained a lot of weight, like a lot of weight, like
mhm,
crazy amounts of weight. I don't know why. So I've just been trying to kind of get to the bottom of stuff. So I've been going to different doctors. I just started seeing a new neurologist and then I see like I just went to see a new pulmonologist today, actually. Um,
okay,
and she was wonderful. And she's going to refer me to a doctor that specializes in menopause. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll start to figure this stuff out because
figure it out.
I'm kind of hurting. I've been having some issues. My shoulders are killing me lately.
Oh, wow.
I've been dealing with like a lot of like aches and pains and feeling like really bloated and miserable. So I'm hoping I'll get that under control.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
get it all figured out so you can tell me because
Yeah.
I'm right behind you.
It's
Yeah,
coming.
I know. So hopefully, but I feel the same way. I do sometimes. So with the weakness and I'm like, is it just getting older or age or is it, I don't know. Who knows?
It is. I
I,
don't know either.
I don't know. It's crazy. Well, one last thing, then we could talk for a while. I've enjoyed so much talking to you. But I want to ask you one last question.
Sure.
What is the one thing you would like to advocate the most for the SMA community?
Well, I would recommend that if you have SMA, that you definitely look into joining some kind of ongoing regular peer support group. So like if that, like for instance, I started a nonprofit called NMD United, as I mentioned earlier, and that brought me into a community of adults that are going through a lot of what I'm going through. And we every Sunday we get together and we play poker online, and we meet on Wednesday nights. Oh shoot, I just realized I forgot to meet. Anyway, we try to meet on Wednesday night. Like it's not just me, it's like a group. So if I don't show up, I don't show up. It's fine. But I just realized I missed that meeting tonight. Anyway, but we try to meet like once a week. So around twice a week, I'm like meeting with people with my disability, and we just talk about things. And I think it's just been very good. It's been very good for my mental health. It's been very good for my physical health. It's been, my relationships with my peers are like really, really like fundamental to my thriving in life. And you know, if it weren't for other peers with my disability, I don't think I would have gotten anywhere. So I believe that, and I also believe that it's kind of, it's our way to give back, and I think it's really important to help others with this disease, and like, you know, offer what we can, and give support and encouragement when we can, and to be leaders, because you know, I think that a lot of times people don't think that we can lead, or that we have the ability to influence big decisions. And so I've seen it happen, and it's pretty cool.
Yes. Oh, yes. I believe that
Mhm.
connections and talking to each other that live the same kind of lives, it really helps a lot.
Make it a conscious practice. Make it a
Yeah,
conscious practice. Get
yeah,
involved with organizations. Get involved with peer-led organizations. Get
yeah,
involved with, you know, NMD United, even, you know, like come find our little groups and hang out with us, or you know, just even apply for a grant. We give out small grants for assistive technology and personal care attendant advertising, and vehicle maintenance and repair, and durable medical equipment repair, and what's the fifth one? And consumable medical supplies. So we have 5 grants, and you can pick 2 out of the 5 grants and apply for 2 out of the 5 grants once a year, and it's up to $250 per grant. So you know, you get, you know, it kind of, it doesn't help a lot, but it helps a little, and it's all through your peers. Like, we evaluate the grant applications, we do all the management as volunteers, and it's a nice thing to give back to our community and help. And you know, if you don't, if it's for people that, it's for really anyone with an NMD. It doesn't matter if you're poor or rich or really anything, but you know, we try to get those who have more to be able to contribute to the grants, and then those who don't, you know, have the money to contribute to to paying for grants to get grants, you know. So we try to just help our community anyway. It's like a mutual aid type thing.
well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely share all of that in your post when I post this video. So I will post this on Monday,
Okay.
and on YouTube, and then I'll also tag you on Facebook. And please have all your friends, family, whoever, share it and subscribe to my page. And
Okay.
If you have any other people in mind that would like to do an interview, please share them with me. I would love to hear from other
Oh, sure.
people. So, but thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I really enjoyed talking
It
with
was
you.
lovely talking to you too.
All right, I'll
All
talk
right.
later. Have a good
Take
night.
care. All
Bye.
right. Bye.